You're listening to Systemic Era Podcast. The failure was designed.
Trump gambled his presidency on one thing dart and now can't start losing, based on an article by Thomas Keeker. Trump's Iran gambit runs into real power. Trump's latest Iran threats followed a familiar script: loud escalation, market theater, then a quiet retreat. The reporting says he again floated major strikes if there was no deal, and backed down days later while claiming a breakthrough was near. That is the surface event. The political fact underneath is simpler. The president is not commanding the board so much as flailing at it, while other actors move to contain the damage. The threat was never the same as control. The story frames Trump as someone who gambled everything on war brinkmanship. That flatters him more than it should. A gamble implies some command over the table. What this actually shows is a president using military threats as a pressure tactic, then discovering that other governments, energy markets, and political reality are not obliged to treat his posturing as policy. He can threaten. He can post. He can whipsaw prices for a moment. But he does not get to convert impulsive rhetoric into durable leverage just because he occupies the Oval Office. Saudi Arabia drew the line. The key decision-maker in this story is not Trump alone. Saudi Arabia, through Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, apparently forced the issue in an unusually candid call and then publicly said dialogue had to predominate. That matters because it identifies where actual leverage sits. The kingdom was not politely asking Washington for restraint. It was telling Trump that strikes on Iran's energy infrastructure would ricochet through Saudi Arabia and the Gulf first. That is the part of the article that cuts through the usual Washington haze. The United States still has enormous destructive capacity, but the immediate consequences of reckless escalation do not stay neatly inside American talking points. MBS did not need a lecture on peace. He needed to protect his own regime from the fallout of Trump's impulsive war signaling. Markets are done pretending. Marx's sharper point is that traders no longer treat Trump's declarations as meaningful. That is not a footnote. It is a measurement of lost credibility. When a president's threats start moving oil markets, his strength has been exposed as a kind of political cosplay, loud enough to generate headlines, too erratic to anchor expectations. The article also notes the alleged price paying for Americans, including gas spikes and collapsing approval. That is the concrete consequence of this style of rule, performative aggression that taxes everyone else. Trump does not absorb the cost of volatility. Workers and consumers do. That asymmetry is the point. The spectacle belongs to him. The damage gets socialized. The real story is not confusion. The weakest framing in stories like this is the suggestion that Trump is merely improvising or that diplomacy is somehow spontaneously coming together. That sanitizes the process. It treats deliberate coercive threats as if they were just noise around a possible deal. But the reporting suggests something more exact. Trump floated military action, discovered resistance from a regional power that would bear the blowback, and then retreated while trying to convert the retreat into statesmanship. That is not confusion. It is misdirection. He creates a crisis, then tries to order the retreat as prudence. The media should start helping him by calling every climb down deal-making. Sometimes it is just being told to stand down. The Zelensky comparison exposes the hierarchy. The article's final comparison to Trump berating Zelensky is useful because it strips away the usual harm. In both cases, a leader with less power was told he lacked the ability to win a war. In both cases, Trump imagined himself as the evaluator. But the Saudi episode flips the script. A regional leader delivered the same message back to him, with more credibility and more immediate consequences. That reversal matters. It shows that Trump's preferred posture is not realism. It is domination theater. He wants to appear as the man who can bully outcomes into existence. The moment someone with leverage pushes back, the post collapses. The pattern behind the bluster. This is the recurring structure of Trump politics. Threaten catastrophe. Test how much fear can be extracted, then retreat if the costs become too visible. The strategy depends on everyone else continuing to confuse volatility with power. Saudi Arabia did not make that mistake. Neither did the traders. Neither should the public. The larger lesson is bleak and familiar. A presidency built on impulsive coercion does not produce strategy. It produces hostage-taking by announcement, followed by frantic exits when someone stronger, or simply more exposed to the consequences, says no. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to AlterNet for today's article. With the automated voice of Razat, thanks for listening.